All right, so should I host?
Are we not going already? I don't know. Hi everybody. Welcome to the Spodcast. I'm Josh.
Are we actually recording?
We are recording.
I mean, I hit the record button.
Legitimately recording from two different sources. 3 if you count my Audacity recording. But that's only for me.
That's my intro to the episode.
Yeah.
Just not hi or anything, just, are we recording?
Studio executive that walks into the booth and is sort of like looking around confused, like, are you actually doing this? Are we paying you for a show that goes on the air?
Is this real life?
Looking for that check you were supposed to write me?
We have no agenda for this show whatsoever right now. We've been sitting here for like 10 minutes and having a bunch of conversations that we were saying, like, this should probably actually be in the podcast. So we started recording at some point, and here we are. I don't know if we want to do a really lame, stilted recap of what the fuck we've been talking about. At one point, I made fun of Campster's name Campster by calling him CompuServe, and then I was like, hey, does CompuServe actually exist? And just typed CompuServe.com into my URL bar, and sure enough, there's a CompuServe website that's still there, and this thing is like from Web 1.0 2001. Like, what the fuck is this website? Also, despite the fact that it's like that I went to the domain name CompuServe.com, the actual URL is webcenters.netscape.compuserve.com/menu. CompuServe Mail. I can create a CompuServe Mail account, get a free username, and
it sounds like you're advertising CompuServe.
Well, I mean, would anybody advertise CompuServe? Okay, so let's create your account. Put your first name and last name in, and then you pick a username, and then the end of the username is at AOL.com. Is AOL CompuServe? How long has this been a thing? Was this always a thing?
Can we take ludonarrative dissonance at AOL.com?
Oh,
I can't imagine anyone owns that.
Well, you never know. At ludonarrative dissonance at CompuServe.net.zone.
Anyway, CompuServe was sold to AOL in 1997, so it's been like this for literally 20 years, Josh.
Really? I guess I kind of forgot that AOL existed after I switched away from AOL in like 2004? 2003, when my parents like finally fucking got high-speed internet, broadband internet, as we called it in the day. And that was like 3 or 4 years after broadband internet became a real like mainstream thing, because my parents were just like super cheap and wanted to spend money on an AOL subscription plus a second phone line instead of just getting DSL for like $25 a month. That's actually another fun story, because we moved to Pennsylvania, and that's when we got cable internet, but it wasn't real cable internet. Like, and this was from
carrier pigeons?
It was... You know, it felt like it sometimes. This was from the very first cable, like, company in the U.S., but it wasn't real cable internet, because what it was we got download that was cable speed, but our upload was through dial-up, basically. So you actually had to still dial in. You still had to have, like, that second phone line, and then you got like dial-up upload speeds and and like early cable download speeds, so like 3 to 5 megabits per second download speeds, and it was like this weird, bizarre zombie of a system. And we had that for a year until we moved to a different house, and then we got like actual cable internet. God, I wish I could remember what the name of the company was that did it. I'm sure someone in the comments can figure it out. Like, it wasn't CompuServe.
Comcast.
It also wasn't Comcast.
Time Warner?
No, it wasn't any like the big name companies that you think of in terms of like cable right now.
Cox, Charter, Xfinity.
Nope.
You know, I'm looking up a list of cable providers, and apparently there are 480 cable providers in the U.S., and I don't understand how that is possible.
That is a weird figure.
Are people going to care
I would
about?
not believe. I have no idea.
That's a good question.
We're going off the rails.
Do people
man.
care about anything that we say? Like, apparently so.
So we should probably talk about video games on our video game podcast.
I don't know. That's never been our great wheelhouse. We've always been better talking about, like, pizza or something.
Oh my god! Don't even
That's
get me
when
started.
we have Rutskarn to like argue about pizza.
Del Taco now delivers to my house. I actually ordered some Del Taco yesterday.
As someone on the
Is
East
this
Coast, this means
sponsored
nothing
by
to
Del
me.
Taco?
I wish. Like, could they pay me in Del Tacos? I've kind of uncovered this weird, like, new leaf where I actually really like Del Taco, and it's one of the places that I go to most often when I go to fast food. But that's also weird because I spent like 4 years teasing Rutskarn about liking Del Taco, so I'm confused and conflicted about this.
Are there any fast food restaurants that I have that you don't? Because you're on the West Coast, so you get all the like the Jack in the Boxes and the Del Tacos. I don't have any of that.
I don't think we have a White
Don't
Castle.
you have Carl's Jr.?
I have Carl's Jr.
On the West Coast, it's Carl's Jr. I have Hardee's, but they're the same company.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys have this complicated system of things.
We do not have... we have neither Tim Hortons nor Dunkin' Donuts. I'll say that much.
We don't have
I don't
Dunkin'
have Tim
Donuts a lot. I don't think. But
I
you
have
have
Dunkin'
like
Donuts.
way more things.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have I have had an In-N-Out that has been like 6 miles away from my house from the beginning that I moved here. Like, so, you know, as far as hamburgers go, I'm set. Although, I don't know if I actually have any Five Guys. Maybe I do, but I don't have any that are like so close by that I've noticed them when driving
Shake
around.
Shack. Shake Shack is an East Coast.
Yeah,
I
I've
don't
got a
have
couple
a
of
Shake
Five
Shack.
Guys, but the
That's
nearest
like a
one is like
Northeast thing.
10 miles away.
Well, that was my best guess.
I mean, I have a lot of southern places that I know Josh probably doesn't have.
Vegas also has 3 Shake Shacks, but the nearest one is like Las Vegas Boulevard. So,
But that's
like,
a specialty item.
That's 15 miles away from me, so that's kind of nuts.
I think that's just like a special thing for that specific area, though, right? Or are they now just making Shake Shacks?
There's also one down in Henderson where all the rich people live, and one along the Beltway, which is actually probably closer to me, but the Beltway is like the highway that circles the entire city.
I know you don't have Bojangles. That's a southern East Coast thing.
Bojangles does sound like a very southern
Bojangles.
thing. No, I have no Bojangles.
Doesn't sound like a food thing.
It's a fried chicken place, a southern fried chicken. We've got a series of them. There's Bojangles, there's Church's, there's Popeyes. I guess is more Louisiana leaning, but
We even have that.
yeah, I think that's like the only
Church's
national
chicken.
chicken place that isn't Chick-fil-A.
I actually have what is this? 8 Church's chickens in Las Vegas. But
Really?
they're all like towards
Wow. I thought that was
the
more-
southeastern side of the city. So like,
I thought that was more of a southern eastern coast thing. Well, I know Bojangles is the only place. We're the only place that has that is the southeast of the states. Trying to think if there's anything else because I know there's like local fast food restaurants that you don't have like Char Grill and Cookout, but nobody has those. Those are like there's 7 locations total here. I don't know. I can't think of anything. Anyway, that's fast food.
I'm
Yeah.
very excited to try some of the West Coast stuff because I'm going to TwitchCon. There's a
Oh,
segment.
cool.
So that'll be my first time at the West Coast at all. So I got to try everything.
What city is it in?
Long Beach.
I don't know where Long Beach, California is. I don't know if that's northern or southern California.
That's like L.A.
The
area.
south.
It's south of L.A. That's my grandparents live very close to Long Beach.
Well, that's cool. I don't think I know any specific good places to eat anywhere near there, but
I just want to eat the garbage food. I don't I want to have the.
Well, that's all of America.
I know, but I don't get to always have garbage food. I'm not in America all the time. So I'm just, I want good stuff, but I want bad stuff too.
Josh, recommendations for someone going to the West Coast?
There's a place that we always go when I go down to my grandparents' house. It's in smack dab in the middle of LA. We call it Philippi's, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong, and I think it's supposed to be called Philippe's. It's French dip sandwiches.
Oh my god. That's cute.
And they've been there for 100 years, and they have the cement. It's in a basement, and they've got the cement floors that have peanut shells in the kind of. It's like an old school sort of sandwich shop kind of place. And they do French dip sandwiches and coleslaw and that kind of stuff. And that place has always been good. The title card here, when I look it up in Google, is Landmark Home of the French Dip Sandwich. So
I never realized how far-reaching your mispronunciation of French words really was outside of Kona. But now I am starting to understand.
You can blame my family for it. We are...
Well, then it extends beyond you.
100% British and maybe a little bit of German. No French whatsoever, as far as I'm aware.
Anyway, TwitchCon. So what do you plan to do there?
Well, I'm going on a research grant, a gaming research grant. So I'm going to try and get some interviews in, seeing what I can do, maybe talking to, what's it called? The Aniki stuff, and, talking to a lot of the women there, and, because I'm doing, this is not very exciting at all, but it has to do with, professional streams and stuff, and it's a research thing. It'll be mostly work, but I hopefully will have time to see the sites and go to the parties and meet up with my stream people, and because I do know a lot of different people from Twitch that I'm gonna probably meet for the first time. So that'll be really, really cool and surreal because you're used to seeing them on the camera.
When is
or
it exactly?
Even users. October 20th. 21st. So it's coming out.
Is it going to be spoopy and
the
Halloween?
The thing is, I live 5 hours away from LA. I could potentially go down there and hang out if you wanted.
Yes.
And I wouldn't even have to deal with having a place to stay because I've got a bunch of family down in LA, and I could hang out at my grandparents' ridiculous $3.5 million home.
I want a ridiculous home.
You sound like that's a bad thing?
It's my family is weird. It's a bunch of rich people who don't realize they're rich. And my grandparents got this house on Balboa Island, which you can look up on Wikipedia and see the kind of nonsense, ridiculous house prices are there. But they got it in the 70s, back before the place was so ridiculously expensive to buy on and develop on. And, my uncle owns the family business and has a really nice house somewhere in the suburbs and stuff like that. But, we're not really upper class. I'm wagging my fingers in an exaggerated air quotes motion here. And it's weird because my parents and my family is kind of we didn't ever really live out there while I after I was born. We were there for 9 months total of my life. I've lived in LA. So I've been kind of isolated from that, but everybody who lives in LA are middle class or higher, and it's a weird sort of culture clash to go back there and go oh yeah, you guys have this $3.5 million like property, and that's just like, well, whatever. That's where we live.
You should come. Yes, it'll be spooky.
Spooky.
They're doing a party on the Queen Mary, and it's going to be ghost ship themed.
Ooh, Campster will wish he was coming.
So it is Halloween themed. I'm excited.
Yeah, and we can drink the bourbon together.
Yes, bourbon.
Anyway, it sounds cool. I'm going down and doing like a research project. Is it like interviewing for a paper, or are you like trying to gather any sort of like actual mathematical statistics?
I think it would be too complicated because I'd have to get research ethics to do that, but I can do things like the general sense of like people I talk to is blank, so I can kind of work around.
Yeah, no,
because it doesn't have to be empirical data. Yeah.
Have you talked to Rutz about this at all? Because he also lives in LA.
No. Me? Are you asking me?
Yeah, you.
I didn't know that.
Is he? Yeah, no, he lives in LA. He used to go to college like in Irvine, which is literally right next to where my grandparents' house is. I first met him at a Del Taco in Irvine, actually.
That's how it all connects.
Yeah, exactly.
It always goes back to the fast food.
We didn't even like eat anything there. We just like picked the Del Taco as the place to meet.
The safe meeting place of people.
Yeah.
Who don't.
So when you say you've never been to the West Coast, do you mean like you've never even been to like Vancouver?
No, I've never been to the West Coast of Canada either because it's really expensive to go. It's cheaper for us to travel to the United States.
Really? Well, I mean, like,
yeah.
Like the U.S. border is kind of right there for you, but...
Yeah, but it's like in the U.S., it's really cheap to fly within the country, and that's not so much the case in Canada. Even short distances.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're working on it because they actually realize it's a problem, but...
So do your cheapest, like, trans-Canadian flights end up, like, going south into the U.S. and, like, flying over the Midwest and then going back up to Vancouver?
Oh, I don't think it would ever work out that way.
I don't think they charge by the airspace, Josh.
Well, because it might be a lot of transfers to do that.
Yeah, that's true. And you got to deal with, like, regional headquarters centers stuff with various airlines.
And the worst part about it is that train is also expensive.
We don't really. That's not really an option in the States.
Train in Canada?
You could take the train across Canada.
Wow, yeah, we don't do that here in this country.
Like, we have Amtrak, but you don't want to use Amtrak.
You super don't want to use Amtrak.
So is TwitchCon set up sort of like VidCon is for YouTube? I know VidCon has sort of like 3 layers where there's like the fan layer where everyone gets together to see all their favorite YouTubers and sort of meet up and celebrate their fandom. And then there's like the second tier, like the next story up, where it's all the creators meeting and doing seminars about how to create YouTube videos and harness an audience and all that stuff. And then there's sort of the third tier above that where like all the people in suits and marketing guys try to get together and figure out how to manipulate YouTube and maximize their advertising revenue by, or the value for their advertising dollar by figuring out how to, get influencers to push their product. Is that kind of how TwitchCon is set up? Or have you, I guess you haven't been, but...
Yeah, so I've never been to any sort of, like, not, like no industry con, basically, like this before, but... From what I understand, there are a lot of those panels and workshops and things. And I'm sure there's like a corporate level that I really don't see very publicly through the materials I've seen. And then, yeah, the fan section. But then there's also this partner lounge area. So like there's an exclusive like part of the con that I guess no one else can get into except for people who are partnered on Twitch. And I'm sure that's going to be a little different this year because they have affiliates now, so they have like another level on top of it. So I'm very interested in seeing like the dynamics between like the hierarchies, like how partners act versus how affiliates act versus how like fans act.
Like for someone who the Twitch ranks are completely inscrutable, like which is higher on the hierarchy, affiliates or partners?
Partners.
Okay, so the affiliates are like the free people who are like kind of like second wave partners, you could almost say, like the
right,
YouTube
but like lower requirements.
Initial like, the YouTube people who didn't get in on the initial like, oh, you have the magic ability to have longer than 10-minute videos back when we didn't have a system for that.
Sorta, yeah, except partners get more things.
Mm-hmm.
And affiliate is like doesn't have the sort of status or like badges, and you don't get featured like on the front page if you're not a partner, like all these other things. Because affiliate, you only need like 75 followers, so versus the like thousands you need for a partner.
Didn't you recently get some kind of partnership with regards to Warframe or something along those lines?
Yeah, it's like a really interesting community group where you essentially get status as a partner, either if you have a Twitch or YouTube account and meet their specific requirements for like followers and like numbers of videos and stuff. And in turn, you get the partner status, and they give you in-game items like that you would have to pay with like currency right away. You get like a profile picture, and you get invited to special like stream events. It's really cool. It's like a nice community thing.
I'm sitting here with the Twitch lightning bolt logo as my avatar, and constantly.
Yeah, we need to pimp out the spoiler warning.
Yeah, we really do. Constantly forgetting to change the game I'm playing to the game that I'm actually playing versus the game I was playing 2 months ago.
At least it was changed from E3.
Yeah.
Is there a reason to do that, by the way, as someone who doesn't stream almost ever?
To do what?
Other than searching? To change the game that you're listed as playing? Like, does Twitch get angry if you don't do that? Can I just leave it as blank? Like, is it for discoverability?
I don't think they get angry. I think it's for discoverability. And I think probably to make sure that you're playing what you say you're playing. So, like, if you're playing, like, Diablo, but you're actually on the, like, Overwatch channel or something like that, they kind of don't like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I if you have it just blank, like, you can't do private streams, though, so I wonder how that would work.
I kind of find it interesting that that's not a thing that they allow. Like, at some point, they never decided, like, hey, what if you wanted to just do private streams to particular people? Like, I've been thinking about, like, I want to revamp the spoiler warning Patreon system. I think I mentioned this on Twitter. And, add more, well, any kind of rewards for people, who are interested in really supporting us. And, private streams is one of the things that, like, comes up as the thing, like, hey, what if you did one of those? And, like, that would be interesting, but I have no idea how to do that. Like, we could try to do, like, Google Hangout, but that's not really the same thing as our normal content. And, like, a private stream on Twitch would be, like the best way to do that is just make another account and then hand out the URL to specific patrons and hope that nobody leaks it anywhere. And if they do, then you have to, like, fucking reset the system, and that's a big hassle for everybody. Oh, by the way, here's the new private stream link because somebody else fucking left it out. And if somebody's interested in really leaking this kind of stuff, then you got to figure out who it is.
I'm really curious to see what Discord ends up doing with their video chat and screen sharing stuff, because if that is robust enough, that would be a really cool way to have, like, a private stream. Obviously, that won't work for, like, if you're PewDiePie and you have a private stream of 400,000 people. But like if you're a modestly sized YouTuber who wants a private stream of like 40 to 50 people, I would hope that the Discord would be able to do that with minimal lag and decent visual fidelity and image quality. And if they could do that, that would be really cool. I could see that being a really cool sort of Patreon bonus, being able to set up a private stream inside a Discord.
Yeah.
But I don't think Twitch will ever do it because the whole point of Twitch is to broadcast it to the world and not be your private bandwidth dumper for videos.
Didn't you once get banned from Twitch by accidentally leaving your stream open for 3 days?
Yes, that is why my Twitch thing is completely idiotic, and it wasn't even sending anything. It was I was at work, so it was broadcasting either a blank time saver. It was either the screensaver or a blank screen, and then just like music that was playing in iTunes while I was at work, and so I got busted for copyright violations as a result of that. I need to learn how to turn the stream off. Is really the lesson.
I've always been super paranoid about that. And like I find it really weird and interesting that like that is not a bigger deal to people in general, of like knowing for certain that you're not inadvertently streaming your like private stuff to the internet. Well, like that's always like something I'm super paranoid about.
My problem was that OBS had configured hotkeys, and I kept accidentally hitting the hotkey unknowingly. So I would like hit the hotkey while checking my email on the way to or before work, and leave, and then it would just go to a blank screen. This is back when I had like 0 Twitch followers because I never streamed anything.
Right.
We basically used it as a spoiler warning adjunct thing whenever the mainstream site was down, and I was hosting for whatever reason. Now I know how to make that setup myself, so I can set up my own stream server, so I don't need that. Which is the other sad thing. If I wanted to set up a private stream, it might be easier to just have everyone go to that horrible Flash, I don't even remember the acronym for the codec that it uses, but the video codec that it streams out to everybody.
Oh yeah, that basic like private RTM.
Yeah, the private
thing.
Web server to stream video, and that works really well and has only like a 2-second latency. So for something like a Jackbox, it would be fantastic. What you lose is the entire social aspect of like the chat room stuff that Twitch provides.
I wonder if that server can actually handle like 50 or 100 people watching it though. Like that's never been something we've had to test with our own private RTMP server or that one.
We've only had to go up to like 5.
Spoiler warning, because we've only ever had like 5 people watching at the same time. But like I wonder at the scalability of that, because that's a lot of bandwidth being used to transfer video when you get up there into like 20, 30 people and more.
What else we got, Josh? You been playing video games?
I kind of got back into Guild Wars 2.
Oh my god, me too!
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm not even kidding!
Oh, we should totally hang out and do stuff.
Okay.
I have been leveling a new alt. I never actually got to max level in that game, as it turns out. I stopped at like level 65. And like, I guess the grinding was way fucking harder back in the beginning of the game, because I checked the age on my character and I spent like 200 hours on it. And I was like level 65, and I've got another character that I spent like probably 20 hours on, and I'm level 48 now. So, like, admittedly, some of that is from like birthday rewards that gave me scrolls that allowed me to like skip most of like half the levels in the game. But there was also a lot of like playing through it from the beginning and doing like normal beginning stuff. So I don't know. I came back to it and like the entire starting experience was totally different. And then like it looks like they redid the starting experience and then redid it again, because there's a bunch of stuff that I've been locking on level up that I've already been able to do. Like, oh, you unlocked the ability to use food, and I've been using food since like level 5.
Weird.
like it's strange. That game was really a weird thing. Like I really bounced off of it a lot in a way that I was not expecting. Like I was super hyped for Guild Wars 2 before it came out, and then it came out and I was like, wow, this isn't actually any good. And I mean, a significant portion of that was that I was a big Guild Wars 1 veteran. So, like, all the changes that they made that weren't Guild Wars 1 were a big deal to me. Like, Guild Wars 1 had a lot of really cool things to it that never got carried over to the sequel. Like the freedom that you had in making your build and doing like different things is completely gone in Guild Wars 2. Like it's incomparable. Guild Wars 1 was a like card game in RPG form in a lot of ways. You had the ability to bring 8 total skills into a particular area. Really was an instance, because Guild Wars 1 was structured a lot more like Diablo 2's multiplayer than it was like an MMO. So you go out into the world and it'd be a particular instance for you and your party, whoever that may be. You might just fill it with a bunch of henchmen, who knows. And you had a particular build of 8 skills, and those 8 skills had some very particular wording that would, ideally work off of each other to do certain things. And there were like, by the end of by the time they stopped making expansions and stuff, there were probably 1,500 total skills split between 12 different professions, I think. So like each profession had something like 150 skills to it. So your whole thing through the game... Oh, and you could pick up a secondary profession and use all of their skills except their specific elite skills, which were super powerful skills that were specific to a particular profession. So you could be like an elementalist, which is a mage, and you could also be a monk, which is a healer. So you could have like big nuking skills, and then also skills that were able to heal you or other allies. So the amount of build possibilities with that kind of playing field were ridiculously vast, and the meta developed in such a way that was probably completely impossible for the developers of the game to really predict or balance in any meaningful way. Like I was there for a lot of it, and there was a lot of like, attempts at balancing, but a lot of the stuff that happened, particularly in PvP, turned into very weird, gimmicky stuff. Like there was a pretty early build in the Hall of Heroes, which was 6v6v6 PvP, which was called I Weigh, which was an abbreviation for the skill I Will Avenge You, which was a skill that gave you bonuses based on how many people were like knocked out in the match. And basically all you do is bring a ranger pet, bring a pet like Tiger or whatever, get them killed, and then use that shout, I will avenge you, to give you a bunch of bonuses and win at everything. So you'd have 6 people with 6 pets that would immediately die, and then use that skill to become super gods and defeat everything. And that's a sort of weird, like, emergent play that doesn't really come out of like World of Warcraft so much as it comes out of a situation like Magic the Gathering, like that kind of game. And that's why I say that it was a card game more than an RPG, really, because you had these specific skills and you had the specific hand of skills, you could call it, of 8 skills that you brought into a particular area, and that would determine what you could do, and those skills could play off each other in various weird ways. Guild Wars 2 has none of this whatsoever. This is completely jettisoned. There's no secondary profession. all the skills are much more World of Warcraft-esque. There is a limit to how many skills you can bring into a fight, which is 10, and the first 5 of those are determined by your weapons, so you still have kind of a, like sword skills for your profession will have a specific kind of thing going for them, and mace skills for your profession will have a different set of skills for them, and so on. So there's sort of a little bit of build variety there, but it's not at all the same thing as in Guild Wars 1. So I walked into Guild Wars 2, and obviously I knew this was how they were reinterpreting it, but I didn't immediately grasp how different that would make everything. And then there was the bit where leveling in the game was just a pain in the ass to do. Like, again, I didn't hit max level. I don't know what happened to you, Alex, but I figured I got to the point where the way that you level is by running around maps and doing these things called hearts, which are sort of your replacement for normal MMO quests. And they're basically like quests tied to an area where you don't have to talk to the quest NPC to activate it, but you just kind of go around and do stuff. But the stuff that you do isn't all that different from normal MMO quests, and it's a lot of kill X number of X kind of things. And that was really boring after a while.
See, my problem... Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, I was going to say, I got to about level 40... And I guess I thought sort of the same thing. I like the concept of not having to go talk to someone, go to a thing, and then walk back and to hand it in. So you kind of just complete the quest as is. So that's really nice. And people can help, so you don't even need to be in a party. So everybody contributes sometimes to some of those missions. So I really like that, but I didn't have a lot of friends to play with. I actually didn't, and I don't think I've actually ever played with a friend. So that was a big, problem. Because it's not the same, you completing a quest with random people, but they all contribute to it, versus, people you are actually talking to.
Yeah, I can imagine that would suck a lot of the interesting stuff out of the game even more. I imagine the other thing that didn't help was the storyline, which was crap.
Yeah.
Really bad.
I mean, where it lost me was... I don't usually play MMOs the way the way they're meant to be played, so I'm a bad MMO person in general. But
Campster.
Well, the reason you play MMOs really is kind of like the way we play Destiny, right? There's the grind up to the end game, which is sort of just a precursor,
right.
Learn all the mechanics, spec your character, gather some equipment, and then feel good about getting ready to do the end game. And then the end game is team up with a bunch of friends and go tackle the hardest content possible by working together to beat the stuff and get the best loot so that you can go tackle the harder endgame stuff, and so on and so on. And then they expect you to keep going through the content grind. I don't like doing that. The only game I've ever even come close to doing that with is Destiny, which is barely even considered an MMO. It's really more of just a multiplayer shooter. So where Guild Wars 2 lost me, I loved the art style. I loved its off-kilter fantasy setting where it was not a traditional Tolkien-esque, orcs and goblins and gnomes and elves and humans.
It's almost more like fairy tale-esque, isn't it?
Yeah. I liked all of that. I loved it. The problem is it sold itself as this story-driven, character-based experience. And what I found was in the opening of the game, you got to choose a couple traits and choose your backstory, and that changed how characters interacted with you, and that was really interesting. And then you would go out into the zones to do your leveling, and you would end up doing the same little micro quest again and again and again. There's only so many times I can save the apple orchard from the bees, or stop the thieves from blowing up the water pipe and rebuilding the water pipe and defending the water pipe again and again and again. And yes, it's more interesting than the standard MMO, hey, there's wolves over there. Go kill 6 wolves and bring me 6 wolves' teeth. Okay, that's just painfully boring. This was better than that, but the next area over is level 10. I'm not level 10 yet, and I've already done the bee thing and the water thing. How many times do I have to do this to reach the next level and go to the next zone? And the answer was a lot. And I just, at some point, got bored with that. I got bored with the idea of doing the bee thing 30 times and the water thing 30 times before I felt I could move on. And that's where the game lost me. So I didn't even make it up to like level 45 or 60 or whatever you guys did. I made it to like level 19, and I kind of peaced out. Again, I'm a bad MMO player.
I think it's honestly a diminishing returns thing when it comes to MMOs, because I think like the first one you play, you pour a lot into, and then you get burned in some way. Either it's like friend drama, or like, just like you're sick of the grinding, or you're frustrated with something, and then like you always come back to another MMO or the same MMO, and like you have half the patience you did the first time, and then I think it just decreases by half every time you like give an MMO a shot again. Because I did not give Guild Wars 2 a try again for much longer. That's
probably true. Because I know I played WoW the same way, where I just basically tried to do the questing and grinding like it was a Diablo game, which, again, not how you're supposed to play MMOs, I get it. But I got to like level 45-ish, back when the level cap was 60 in World of Warcraft, and then never touched the game again. So like that took like God knows how many hours to just without any sort of dungeons, without any sort of grouping, manually grinding every single solo quest up to 45 took forever. So yeah, I think my patience for MMOs has dropped precipitously with each subsequent one I've tried.
I think the thing that really stung with Guild Wars 2 was that they kind of heard these complaints from like your complaints, Campster, that like, oh, it's all grinding up and takes forever, and you should be able to solo more stuff, and it seemed like they were taking them into account, and then like the game itself had a grind, and it had a it lost me before I made it to max level. It lost a lot of my friends before they made it to max level. Like that shouldn't happen in a game that's theoretically that is advertising itself as a game with no grind. If there's no grind in it, there shouldn't be a problem making it to max level, and there was. If it doesn't get boring part of the way through, then why is it getting boring part of the way through? I feel like I've come back to it, and I feel like they've addressed this in some ways. It seems like the leveling curve is somewhat more forgiving than it was once upon a time, and like I remember like back when I first started playing the game, like there are these like random events like what you described, Campster, like defend the bees or defend the orchard from the bees. I
don't remember if it was bees, but it was something.
And like defend the water pipe from the bandits. Those are like events. Those would randomly pop up, and they would like create temporary changes to the state of the particular world that you're in. So there'd be bits where like, oh, you got to defend this town. If this town is taken over by centaurs, like the centaurs will run it for a while, and then you've got to like there'll be an event that'll spawn later that'll be like go take back the town from the centaurs. And like it never really created a world that really seemed alive, but it made a world that where you could enter into it, and then like periodically sometimes the world would be in a different configuration from the way it was normally. Initially, I remember
that they didn't do any like zone-wide bonuses. Like if you guys hold this thing from the guys, everyone gets a 10% XP bonus. So it's really important that we all go defend the water tower, and if we lose the water tower, let's take it back. That doesn't happen. It's just sort of like, hey, I spawned into the zone. Which state is the zone in? Defend the water tower from the attackers, or take back the water tower, and that's it. Like it's just it's a quest state change. It doesn't change. There's no reason to do either task specifically.
And that's still not really in the game. There are like world bosses where if you fight them, you get special loot and that kind of stuff, and that's kind of interesting, but there's no like zone-wide bonuses for keeping it in a particular state. But I remember like when I first played the game, I had to go to a fucking website to like track when particular events were running in a zone. Like these zones are not small. And it would be like 1 or 2 events would be happening in the zone at any particular time. And that was like, so your typical play session, you might run into an event every hour or so, that kind of thing. That's all gone. Events are much, much, much more frequent, which is a good thing because they're much more interesting than the random, like, wandering around to, like, static heart quest things where you've got to go do particular things in a particular area, and most of them boil down to click on this object and fight someone, or just fight someone. So that's made things a lot more, if not interesting, then at least acceptable for just playing through solo or semi-solo. I've been playing a lot with Jarenth. We just started up new characters like 2 weeks ago and started playing through it. But like there is a lot to like in Guild Wars 2. Like the combat system is a lot more interesting than I would say World of Warcraft's is. There's a lot more active stuff to it. The entire game is actually really like, and this is something that the game does not communicate very well at all, but the entire game is largely based around completely avoiding damage rather than like taking it. So like a boss might kill you in 3 hits, but you have the ability to dodge roll with a particular like endurance resource, so you can't just dodge roll constantly. But if you look at the tells from the boss and see them like about to attack, then you dodge roll and you miss it, and then you didn't lose any of your health at all. So it's a lot more reactive than I'd say like typical MMO combat is. There's a lot more, it's a lot more spatial based. There's a lot more movement involved. A lot of the attacks are like specifically like, this AoE is going to land in this area and you better get out of the way. It's just a shame that like the initial launch was so crap in so many ways, and turned off a lot of people like me.
So that was a 6-year-old game, not 6-year-old. How old is Guild Wars 2 at this point?
Just celebrated its 5th anniversary like 2 days ago.
So almost 6 years old. 5 is almost 6.
5 is 5/6 of 6.
I was like 84% of the way there. It's cool.
So what have you been video gaming?
I've been playing a little bit of Dauntless.
What is Dauntless?
Dauntless is a sort of like a Monster Hunter like for the PC, and it's in alpha right now. And it's got one of those Fortnite systems where it's going to be paid and then free later. And apparently that's also been coming a lot of under fire lately, but that's besides the point. So yeah, you just have your character and you jump into missions and fight monsters like Monster Hunter style, and you get mats to make different gear and different kinds of weapons. And it's very
like
simple.
Fortnite,
right?
A lot like Fortnite, but as Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's oddly strange the way as these whole 2 games have been coming out.
I mean, it looks cool. The combat looks more interesting than Fortnite's is. A lot of dodge rolling, a lot of melee.
I'm having a good time, but it's still too early to say anything.
I feel like we should probably revisit Fortnite at some point.
I mean, I've been playing it off and on. It's kind of become my chill game for a little while because I'm still at a point where everything is so easy that I just sort of go and grind loot, and that's it.
Like, all of the in-game combat, like content and combat, I thought was great. I just like the out-of-game user interface was hell on earth. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I don't understand.
It's undeniably terrible, but it gets better once you know what generally it's doing. It's just you have to learn to ignore about 80% of it, because 80% of it doesn't really matter. Like, 2% bonuses on skills you use once every 10 matches are really not that worth investing emotion into.
Bonuses like those. If you're not giving me at least a 10% bonus, I don't fucking care.
I mean, in aggregate, if you invest enough points, it eventually becomes a 10, 15, 20% bonus. But yeah, it's basically, Fortnite has sort of become a chill game for me just because it's like so easy and so relaxing to just like load up a pseudo randomized map and be like, oh, what crap can I find to let me make the weapons for the things I've found, and then when we beat the level, I get more schematics for more things to build, and that's just a really chill gameplay loop that is sort of not quite as compulsive as like a Diablo, but still sort of just vaguely Skinner box driven, without really asking for any money, which is nice because it's not really. I mean, you can, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Anyway, how is Dauntless, aside from being very Fortnite-esque?
I have never heard of Dauntless. What is Dauntless? Let's back it up a step.
She already said.
I just described it.
It's Monster Hunter, basically. It's Monster Hunter, but a free-to-play.
Is it like it's not a mod, it's a real company doing this. Like, what is its aesthetic? If I
it looks like
look
Fortnite.
it up on Google, okay.
Like, imagine Monster Hunter, but with an art style that looks very similar to Fortnite. Very flat shaded colors.
And like a corollary to this, why have I never heard of it before? Like 5 minutes ago.
Because it's technically in early access, I imagine.
Maybe they've just been, again, promoting it on the Twitch side of things.
That's also
Seems
true.
like I find out a lot of stuff on Twitch because other streamers are playing it, or they have promotional codes and things. Like, that's how I keep getting this stuff.
It's also, it looks like it's a new studio that doesn't have anything else. Phoenix Labs, they haven't released any other games. So it's not like we hear that it's a new game by the developers of so-and-so. It's a new studio. Also, they're in Vancouver, apparently.
Oh, they're more Canadians.
Yeah, we're making the good stuff, I think.
The Phoenix Lab website has portraits and names of all the developers involved, and then like under their names are, I guess, their usernames, which is weird.
So you can play with them online.
Benj Carson, Ashurbanipal. I see your Ashurbanipal reference there, and I am not impressed.
I can't follow anything he's saying.
Baba.
Now you're just saying words and sounds.
We're going to quote all of these out of context at some point.
Lama Dama Dama.
Apparently, according to my time scale, we've been going for an hour and 41 seconds. Which will probably get changed with the addition of credits music, but you get the idea. Do we want to do any mailbag stuff?
Up to you. I'm fine with answering questions.
We have a certain fan named
answer.
Chris who keeps sending in questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Dear Spodcast, what long-running franchise have you played the most games in? This email was designed, developed, and produced by a multicultural team of various beliefs, sexual orientations, and gender identities. And it's not signed, but it's from Chris.
Oh, that's a tough one.
What's the question again?
What long-running franchise have you played the most games in? And, like, this is, like, what does that mean exactly?
Well, I've played every Grand Theft Auto, which puts me at, well, with the exception of the British one for the original, so that puts me at 7 GTAs. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, like, is it like the most installments of a franchise, or have you spent the most time playing that franchise, or what?
Because, I mean, I think long-running franchises with the most entries kind of have an unfair advantage here. Like, I've played every Doom and will play every Doom, but I don't think I've played...
to Assassin's Creed that Chris...
Okay, if I count the bonus Dooms that aren't necessarily included in the Doom canon, I have played Doom, Doom 2, Ultimate Doom, Final Doom, Doom 3, Doom 3 BFG Edition, Doom 2016, Doom RPG, Doom on the GBA, and Doom 64. So that puts me at 10. So I would say Doom, if you count every one of those iterations.
Wait, there was a GBA version of Doom?
Yes, it was not great, but it played on the G. No, it was Doom. It was straight up Doom.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I want to emulate this now.
This also isn't including ports, because I've played Doom on the SNES, I've played it on DOS, I've played Win Doom, and I've played the PSX Doom. So that could put me up to like 14, depending on where you count Doom iterations. But again, that's unfair, because Doom has been ported to every freaking console under the sun, so like other games don't really stand a chance in comparison.
Like, if we count re-releases, I guess it's Command and Conquer, because it's been re-released so many fucking times. Like, there's the original releases of all the Command and Conquer games, and then there's the first decade, which had all the Command and Conquer games, minus, like, the second wave Command and Conquer games, and then there's, like, the second wave Command and Conquer games, and then there's, like, all the re-releases that they had on Origin, and the Origin Access stuff, and, like, there's already, like, 10 fucking Command & Conquer games to begin with, so probably Command & Conquer for me, but, like, that's a weird thing, because that's not my, like, favorite franchise, or something that I particularly associate as, like, super integral to my gaming identity. I mean, I don't want to discount them entirely, but...
I'm surprised neither of you said Final Fantasy.
Oh, no,
that's definitely the easy answer for me.
I have completed exactly one Final Fantasy game, and that is 15. So.
I have completed zero Final Fantasy.
How could you only complete 15?
I almost finished 13, but I got bored.
Oh my god, Josh.
I played like 1 hour of 7, and that's like the entire experience I've had with the Final Fantasy franchise.
Oh my god. I don't even...
Okay, but how many of the Final Fantasies have you played out of all of them?
Out of all of them, well, it's better to say the ones I haven't played. Okay. And I haven't completed Mystic Quest and the second Tactics Advance and the Decisia and Final Fantasy VII. And then the rest of them I've
finished Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, well, it's not good.
But everybody says it's the best Final Fantasy, except for the people who say 6 is the best Final Fantasy, and those weird people who say 12 is the best Final Fantasy.
I've heard 9, I've heard 12, I've heard Lightning, I've heard 15, I've heard lots of Final Fantasies are the best.
I'm not saying it's the worst 7, but I think it's a little overrated. Unfortunately, I think early PS1 games also date horribly.
Is that a specific jab at Tony Hawk?
No, but like there's some things... Well, there's certain games where like the technology of the time, I think, affects a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
So I may have to change my... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I never owned a PlayStation prior to the PS3, and I only bought the PS3 after the PS4 came out. So, as far as Sony goes, I'm not like I didn't have the opportunity to play most of the Final Fantasy games. So, And like I was not involved in consoles at all during the NES, SNES situation. I only got involved like 98 and onwards from there. So like my opportunity to play Final Fantasy games has been significantly limited by the hardware that I have had available.
I just can't get into Final Fantasy games because I know I'm sitting down for like a 60-hour ride. I can't do it.
I think it helped that I beat most of them when I was an angsty teenager, and that seems to be the target audience for those games for a lot of the things, and you just maybe have more patience back then. Because you had time to think about deep things.
No, I had the opposite of patience. I was playing first-person shooters in Doom. I just couldn't sit down and play a 60-hour game.
I feel
But
like
when would you
age is
ever
a
sit
significant
down
factor.
and be angsty? When did you make time for that?
Oh, every single time I was playing Doom, I was blaring like corn music and teenage 14-year-old lame things that I totally disavow now. But
And
Oh my
and
God.
then you went
I
on
have
to
vi- I have-
Unreal and came up with the username
I have-
carrot carrot protector carrot carrot.
I have vivid memories of listening to like Hellbilly Deluxe blasting at volumes that would make my ears bleed now as an adult while playing Half-Life Deathmatch. Like that was me in the late 90s. That is the sad person I was.
Well, I liked RPGs back when they were cool.
I played
but
Fallout. That was my RPG.
That's not your grandfather's RPG, I tell you that much.
I think age has a significant factor here because, like, I've gotten to the point recently where I don't give a shit if games have if games are boasting a really long 100 hours of content, and B, actually don't want them to. We played Knights of the Old Republic for spoiler warning a couple of years back, and like finishing that game was fucking hell. I just wanted it to end after a while, and there was an element of like I'd rather have like all of this story content. Give me all the sugary sweetness without any of the fucking filler, and go for it. And not create a bunch of like random fucking filler quest stuff. And I've kind of had that outlook towards RPGs for the past couple of years. I've played some really long RPGs, but it's I'm always thinking with those RPGs like, man, I wish this ended 10 hours ago. I wish this ended 20 hours ago. Why is it still going? Oh my god.
So upon further reflection while we've been talking, I think I have to change my answer away from Doom, technically. I realized it depends on how you count what a franchise is, but if you count the mainline platforming Mario games as a franchise, that probably wins out for me. Because I have played Mario, Mario 2, Mario 3, Super Mario, Yoshi's Island, Mario 64, Mario Galaxy 2, Mario Sunshine, Super Mario 3DS, New Super Mario Bros., New Super Mario Bros. Wii U, Mario Maker, and the original Super Mario Bros. That were the non-Super Mario Bros. Game. And that puts me up at 14, which is like 4 more than I had for Doom. And that doesn't count Mario Kart, Mario Sports Games, Mario Paper or Paper Mario, Mario RPG, Donkey Kong, whether that counts as a Mario game or not. I've played a lot of games with Mario in it.
I didn't
But
even
again,
think about
that seems unfair.
Yeah. So I think that would be my answer then, too. Mario Party. Mario teaches
Mario Party.
typing.
Mario Party does not fucking count.
Mario is
Mario
missing.
teaches typing.
Neither do those.
Hotel Mario.
What the fuck
Strip
even is
Poker
that?
Mario.
That's not a real thing.
Fan games count.
Mario Night at the Inventory. 3.
Oh man,
Or
I
four.
would totally buy a Mario poker game.
That would be really good.
It's just the bonus level for Mario 3.
I did get annoyed
isn't
how the
even
winning
poker.
strategy for Poker Night at the Inventory was just to basically fold every hand unless you had like pocket kings, and then you would win.
That's called poker.
I guess. Do we want to do another question, or is this it?
I'm good. I'm up for whatever.
Okay. Let's see here. Dear Spoiler Warning Podcast, what are some of your favorite protagonists in gaming? I'd suggest male, female, silent character, character creator, created, and other for the categories if you want some guidelines. Love, Christopher Nolan.
Oh my god.
This is tough. You guys go. I'll think.
I can't just pick one.
I can't
Right?
pick
You
any.
can pick-
So
Oh, a great character. Dante from Devil May Cry. Oh my god.
We talking like the original Devil May Cries, or like
Yeah, like the
DMC
original
and
Dante.
afterwards?
You're the first 3 Dantes, which is the same one. Because he has the pizza in the third one.
He has
I don't know what
pizza
that
in the
means.
Third one.
Like, he does tricks with pizza and stuff with his pistol. He's really cool, and like, he just doesn't give a shit about demons. Which is, I guess, sort of like Bayonetta, who I also think is a very good character.
Geralt is fun. But then I've read the books, so I have probably a different idea of Geralt in my head than most people.
Like, better or worse?
The
books are good at developing him?
The games are odd because by the time of the novels, and there were like 2 short story collections. The short stories were originally published in like serial magazines. The 2 short story collections, Geralt is the protagonist, but by the time of the novels, and there are 5 novels, like Ciri is the protagonist of all the novels. So Geralt is kind of this like Obi-Wan figure in the novels versus Ciri, who is the real protagonist. And the games are 100% Geralt. So like, does Geralt count if we're only talking video games? I don't know. That said, all the Witcher games are pretty good.
Yeah.
So what was the question again? Reframe the question, because I'm trying to think of an answer.
What are your favorite protagonists?
Oh, this is so hard. The problem is I can't think of a lot of good protagonists because most of the games I really like are basically using the protagonist or the player character as a cipher for the player. Like, I can't say like J.C. Denton, because J.C. Denton is almost not a character. He's just a blank-faced stoic cipher for the player.
I feel like Adam Jensen is more of a character than J.C. Denton.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I do like Adam Jensen. I liked him more in the first game than the second game, though, so... Or rather, Deus Ex or Human Revolution more than Mankind Divided.
I guess if I had to name some characters just off the top of my head that I like, I can't say that these are my favorites forever, but just thinking, I really like Geralt. Or not Geralt. Damn it, Josh. You ruined my brain. No, Garrett from Thief. I like Garrett. Garrett is a cool character. I like him. He is. I like what he does. I like the way he's portrayed. I like his. I like Garrett. Also, Lee Everett is pretty cool.
Let me ask you something real fast. Okay. Alternate universe. Garrett is not voiced by Steven Russell. Do you still like Garrett?
If it's a similar-ish performance, probably. I mean, I would have grown up with that performance instead. I'm assuming this is an alternate timeline where I grew up with something similar, and as long as it's a gravelly-voiced man talking seriously about stuff, like, okay, I can deal with that. As long as it's not some guy doing like, I'm gonna steal your shit, kind of. As long as that's not Garrett, yeah.
Oh my god.
Also, I kind of like Delilah. Well, that's not a protagonist, but Delilah from Firewatch is cool. See, I'm really bad at thinking.
I thought you were talking about Delilah from Dishonored.
No, that's a different Delilah, and that's not a cool character. I mean, she's a cool character, but she's evil. Billy Lurk actually is going to be pretty cool when she's a protagonist in the upcoming DLC.
Yeah, that's in like 3 weeks.
So that's a short list of people I can name as protagonists I like. This is a hard question.
I liked Emily in Dishonored too. Not to get too overly topical here, but I feel like the Dishonored 2 story really worked well with Emily, and having her as a voice protagonist who pontificates about things was a cool thing and a cool departure from like the original Dishonored sort of like, oh, Corvo is this super silent protagonist, aka Half-Life.
I'm gonna steal Sokolov's beard.
That
Just
would
thoughts
actually
that
be a
occur to
really
me.
funny thing to say.
Is it weird for me to say that I really like Jegs from Contradiction? Spot the Liar, the FMV murder mystery game.
Oh man, he's the
Or is that
best
too,
video
like,
game
movie?
character.
He's
No,
very
FMV games
good.
count. He's
Okay, good, 'cause it's more like the act-
goofy.
So good. And so above board.
Have you ever heard of this? Holds up his fingers in a devil pose.
And then he, like, definitely steals things from people's cars and then lies and says he found it on the ground. And then he slaps that kid and says police brutality, huh? Oh, so good. He deserved it, though, because he's part of a cult.
Is that game getting like a sequel or something? I heard some rumblings about it. Like, because they
kickstarted the first ones. They could
they
kickstart
ran
another
out of
one.
money, or like one of the stars that was the main villain couldn't do some stuff, so the game kind of ended on this weird non-climax.
Really?
Yeah, I think they were going to go for more closure originally.
They did close a lot of details in, like, a sort of voiceover collage sort of slideshow thing. So I could see that.
Anyway, this has been the Spodcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Sorry about all the fast food talk.
I'm so
Probably
hungry.
No spoiler warning this week. We're not really feeling up to recording stuff after right now. You can blame Camster for this, because Camster is the easiest person to blame.
I mean, it's 12:30 on a Sunday, or I guess Monday morning at this point, and I have work, but we could, I don't know, maybe I'll record myself playing an indie game, and like, I'll pull a Rutskarn and just upload something. But it's not
you
going to be
guys
something
didn't know he
scary,
was
it's going to be
gonna
something adorable. Well, he told us he was going to upload something, but he didn't say what.
Well, I was just going to.
You should play the
upload,
cutest
like,
game.
some old stream archives. But yes, you should play cute games.
Yeah, or dating sims only.
Also, we really do need to get together next week on the next podcast and talk about what we played from the GOG Pinata sale.
Oh yeah,
man.
that's a thing that I definitely forgot to do, and didn't intentionally set aside and not do, in the hopes that nobody would remember it.
I mean, I played
got a
mine, I'm just
fucking
saying.
weird potato clicker game.
I got Bombshell, and I played Bombshell, and you heard my horror stories about how bad
I
Bombshell
did.
is.
I was there. I listened to them.
Maybe I'll
So
stream
I-
the opening of Bombshell. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
God.
Oh, I won't be here, I don't think, for the next, maybe not the next week, but then definitely the next 2 weeks.
It's not TwitchCon yet.
No, I'm going to the Netherlands.
Oh,
cool.
you're going to hang out with Dutch people that are cooler than
Yeah.
us.
Well,
Jarenth.
really?
Wait, will Jared actually be there?
I don't know. He lives in, like, something. He lives in some town.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Dutch.
As heck. Anyway,
Well, have fun in the Netherlands.
Hey,
enjoy Europe.
Bring back some wooden clogs.
yep, and that's about it. 'Cause you can't take weed across the border.
Damn it.
Damn it.
Is weed legal in Canada yet?
Nope.
That's weird.
Wait, even in parts of Canada? Like the weird thing it is in the U.S.?
No, it's different how it works here.
That's weird. It's different. I don't like different.
It is pretty different. They're working
Is it
on
legal
the
in North Carolina,
legislation.
Campster?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's legal here. And even before it was legal here, it was super easy to get a medical license, to like the extent that there were like billboards on the highway that were like, hey, sign up for fucking medical marijuana license. It's cool.
Wow.
Vegas don't give no fucks. Anyway, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
On that weirdly abrupt note.
Yeah, on that weirdly appropriate note, goodbye, everybody. Hope you tune in next week.
Come to Vegas and get your weed. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, we were still recording?
Sponsored by the... Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. This isn't sponsored by Big Leaf.
Wow.